Plus he knew once he had me, had the kids, he knew I wasn't going anywhere,
Yeah.
and I wasn't allowed to ever bring anything up. Otherwise, I was accused of throwing him under the bus. My children started talking to me the way he did. Thank God in my hand recording, because I swear that saved me more times than I can count. This isn't what I signed up for.
Hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host, Keegan, and this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And I've got a question for you real quick. Did you accidentally marry a narcissist and you want a divorce? Well, our guest today is Kemper Foster, and we're going to walk through the ashes with her, but she wrote a book all about it, and on the surface, she had the perfect Facebook life. It was a 27-year marriage, a high-flying corporate career, and 3 kids, but behind the closed doors, she was living in a war zone of control and deceit. She didn't just write the book, she published her survival guide. It's called Year of Thorns, What to Expect When Divorcing a Narcissist, and she's here to help us unravel it and figure out how to reshape a life to kind of get revenge of sorts. But with that being said, Kimber, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's awesome to have you on, but I'm really sorry to hear that you had to endure 27 years of a marriage that just wasn't really compatible. And that just really sucks. Is there anything that you can say actually was good out of
Yeah,
all that?
definitely. I mean, it's like that proverbial roller coaster, You go up on all these ups and downs. It's a crazy ride.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I finally had to jump off that roller coaster because it was making me ill physically and emotionally.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I'm really sorry to hear that, but you don't really sit there and beat yourself up for having sat through it all that time, do you?
You know what? That is a really good question because once you break free of a toxic relationship, a really strong recovery point is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Not just forgiving that person that was horrible to you or put you through all these different things, but it's forgiveness for yourself. And for me, it was like forgiving myself, like, why didn't I leave sooner? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? It was a
Mm-hmm.
big proponent. Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of in recovery yourself, right? Because I mean, that's a lot of mental strain having to deal with a narcissist for almost 3 decades.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're completely emotionally conditioned
Hmm.
over all those years. It's not like, okay, I'm divorced now, I'm all fine. You've been conditioned for so long to think so many ways, so negatively. You've got to retrain your brain and start your life over. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, and that's really hard. Do you think
Hmm.
you could kind of walk us back to maybe where it all began? Or maybe what about where did you notice that he was a narcissist that you kind of had to get away from?
You know what? There was early signs from the very beginning. You know,
Okay.
um, temper flares. He was very self-centered. It was all about him,
Hmm.
always all about him and control. But then he was so fun and he was handsome and charismatic, like I said, that roller coaster.
Hmm.
Um, but I also did notice that as his career grew, so did his ego. And so
Mm.
did the manipulation tactics and
Oof.
keeping me under his thumb.
Oof.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's really rough. How did you start to notice that he was keeping you under his thumb? Because, I mean, manipulation is kind of that sneaky tactic to make people do what you want without them
Mhm.
really noticing, right? But
Right. But a
sometimes,
narcissist is really good at it and very talented. First they suck you in, they love bomb you, the whole, initial, I call it honeymoon phase is
Mhm,
amazing. But then slowly they start to devalue you and make you question your sanity, that you can't live without them. It's kind
mhm.
of like that imposter syndrome or, when you fall in love with your captor. It's a lot like that too.
Yeah, I think that one's Stockholm syndrome.
Yes, Stockholm, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Ah.
But, for him, we were both met in college. We got
Mhm,
married right out of college. He was getting paid more than me. So he started his life as a salesman. So it moved us every 2, 3 years. So, I was alienated. So that's a big component for me.
Mm-hmm.
why he was able to control me and alienate me from my friends and family because we were constantly moving.
Yeah. So you didn't
Yeah,
really have like a home base of sorts
right.
to say, I'm home and I'm around safe people that can listen and maybe trust me
Hmm.
or understand what's going on. And whenever you don't have that kind of rapport with other people, you're essentially alone.
Yeah,
And if you're married to someone that makes you feel alone, that's even worse.
yeah.
So,
I was really good though at every time we moved, creating a new home base.
mm,
Jumping into the community, joining the PTA. I,
hmm
always immersed myself, if I wasn't working. We actually lived overseas for 10 years, so I wasn't
ah,
allowed to work over there. I didn't have a green card, but I still did the whole school board and quintessential executive wife role,
ah.
but
Gotcha. Was that something that you kind of wanted to do? Like, I know some people they want to be the stay-at-home mom. Like my mother was one of those, and some people will absolutely not do that. And
yeah. Well,
like
I didn't
I,
have a choice at that point. I did all
mm,
three. I was the work full time, then I worked part time with kids. And then
mm,
when we lived overseas, I was at the stay at home mom. But I loved it. I loved exploring the new cultures and all meeting all these different people. And yeah, I had three kids and they ranged in age from a year to 20 years old.
uh,
So, it was a busy time taking care of those kids.
oh yeah, I imagine that would have been one heck of a well, I mean, just an exploratory period in life because whenever you're over across the pond per se, you've got a lot of different cultures, a lot of different
Hmm.
countries, a lot of different languages, a whole lot of world around you. And here in the U.S., it's kind of like, oh, you go 100 miles that way, you're still in the U.S. What was one of the things that initially drew you into him? You said that he was really charismatic. You said that he was
Hmm.
handsome and stuff like that. But what
Yeah.
was it that just made it go like, oh, I've got to have that always? And
I want to say it was love at first sight. The minute I saw him, I was just like Shazam. And he had a way of making you feel like you were it, like you were
mm,
the whole world. You were his bee's knees or but
yeah.
it's the way he made me feel. He made me feel special and cared for and
Mhm.
at the beginning.
That's a good
Yeah.
point again. So, whenever we're talking about the beginning of a relationship with a narcissist, now that could be a toxic relationship for a lot of people. And a lot of people may be wondering if their partner is a narcissist. Real quick, were there different levels of his narcissism? Because
Yeah,
it got
definitely. I
worse,
mean,
right?
like I said, as his career grew, so did his ego. And
Hmm
as he climbed up that ladder. Plus he knew once he had me, had the kids, he knew I wasn't going anywhere. Yeah,
hmm
I couldn't just pack up my kids and leave a foreign country. I had nowhere to go.
Yeah, that one
Yeah,
is kind of
yeah,
really trapped right there. Did you feel trapped while you were there?
definitely. I mean, there was a
Mm,
point. I'm jumping ahead of many many years, but my kids were little.
mhm,
I was at the point where I really didn't want to live anymore. I couldn't take it. His
mm,
verbal and physical abuse was just beyond my control. And
yeah,
I couldn't pack up my kids and just leave. He controlled the money. He controlled everything.
yeah,
And that was tough.
yeah. I can't even imagine to be honest, because whenever someone's controlling the money, the world runs on money. So if you don't got the money, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? What were some of the early signs of him being a narcissist, and what are some things that other people could possibly look out for, and what's something that maybe confuses people about
Yeah.
maybe they're not a narcissist, but maybe they are?
I know it's crazy. When I wrote my book and did all this, I didn't realize, the N word I call it wasn't so mainstream. I wrote it like 8 years ago or something.
hmm
But I mean, it's just like how I started. They first love bomb you. It's almost too good to be true. It is.
hmm
And then they start to devalue you.
hmm
It's like, oh yeah, you look pretty, but you could lose a few pounds, or you know what I mean. It's always
hmm
they're always kind of sneaking in there, trying to make you feel insecure and that you can't do better than them. You can't
uh,
leave them. You'll never survive without them.
mm,
Um, And they also gaslight you. And that makes you kind of question reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll make you perceive like you'll get in an argument and they'll say, well, that never happened. Or you're blowing everything out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
If you hear that, that's a huge one. Instead of validating your feelings, saying, oh, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, they'll
Mm-hmm.
flip it on you and say, oh, well, you deserved it because, or you did this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that I didn't see from the very beginning.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
on that note, though, a lot of people don't really understand the healthy language or the way
Yeah.
to kind of speak to each other. So, what if someone is saying those kind of things, but they just don't realize that they're kind of overstepping a boundary, right? Because did you ever tell him, like, hey, this is like narcissistic behavior, or did you ever, like,
Well, no, I didn't know it back then. But, anytime I did try to call him out on his behavior
Mhm,
or something I felt he did wrong or hurt my feelings, like I said, it was, um, he just flip it.
mhm,
Instead of apologizing or taking accountability, which a narcissist will never do. If they say they're sorry, it's a backhanded kind of sorry. Well, I'm
mhm.
sorry you feel that way.
Yeah,
Not, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way.
yeah.
The difference there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very similar to someone saying, like, let's just say the cheating spouse. Let's just say someone
Mhm.
cheated on their spouse and they said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," blah blah blah. A lot of the time, it's not they're sorry that they cheated. They're sorry they got caught.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Or that you did something that made them go astray,
yep,
that
yeah.
along that line. Yeah.
I
They'll
think,
never take accountability. So that's a big red flag there.
yeah, I think that I may be confusing it with something else, but it's called Darvo.
Mm.
Does that ring a bell?
No,
Um, Okay, let me look it up real quick because it's a really cool acronym. DARVO acronym. It's a manipulation tactic where a perpetrator of abuse uses denial, attack, reverse, victim, and offender.
yes.
So,
So the
yeah.
next thing you say, okay, caught you cheating. I'm going to only say you never happened. You're
Hmm.
making a big deal. I'm nothing. You must imagine something. And the
Hmm.
next thing you know, you're apologizing for accusing them or
Yeah.
calling them out on their actions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Makes sense.
yeah.
I like
I,
that, but I'm going to remember that one.
yeah, Darvo, DARVO. So,
Like it.
yeah, whenever I first heard it, I was like, why does that sound familiar? And then I had to play back in my head of different times that's happened to me. And also at the same time, there's a sad part that's like maybe I have done that in the past, but it's because I didn't know. And one of the things I wanted to ask though was whenever you try to correct him on certain things, it was that immediate like gaslighting, right? So there was no reflection on his part whatsoever anytime. And that is probably like the sign of a narcissist. Like they don't reflect on their past behaviors and how it negatively affects those around them, right?
No, because they lack a complete sense of empathy. They have
Mm.
no guilt, no remorse, no empathy.
So do you
Yeah.
think that there's like, was there a part of you that was like, I can fix him, but you didn't know what was needing fixed?
It wasn't that I felt like I had to fix him. He always reversed it on me to make me feel like I was the problem. I was
Mm.
overreacting. I was crazy. I was delusional.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was
And
never him. It was always me.
so when did the fog start to lift on that? When did the mirror break? For instance, like, was there a moment where he tried to flip it back on you and your brain was like, wait, no, I explicitly remember this. You can't make my mind say otherwise.
Oh, definitely. And I used a story, like my breaking point was, that story of the frog in the pot?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
put a frog in a pot of warm water and you increase the temperature over time, it boils to death. But if you throw a frog in hot boiling water, it'll jump out.
Yeah.
So I was that frog that was boiling slowly over time. It was getting
Mm,
worse and worse and worse. And I was losing myself more and more and more
mm,
until I became a husk of the person I once was. I used to be
mm,
confident and outgoing, and I had lost her along the way. And I say it wasn't like one thing. It was that gradual over time, that
mm,
bucket. that was filled to the rim and that one last drop,
Mm-hmm.
and I snapped. I
Oof.
literally had a panic attack. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like the whole world and all the pressure was crushing on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I'm like, I'm done. I can't do
Yeah.
this anymore, because I knew that I had to leave to survive. If that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Because I mean, a lot of our emotions and stuff, we like to just, if we're taught, or rather not taught how to deal with them and regulate them and all that other stuff, we just
Hmm.
kind of like shove them away and kind of categorize it for later, whenever that
Yeah.
is. And so eventually, if we don't process that kind of stuff, then it does boil over.
Yeah.
And
And I was raised like that. My parents were very strict, and I
mm,
wasn't allowed to talk back or
mhm.
express my feelings. And I can remember one point when I was a teenager, I was really mad at my dad.
Huh.
And I went down to my bedroom and I slammed that door like 10 times as hard as I could.
Oh no.
I came home the next day. You know what happened. That
Yeah.
door was gone.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
that's kind of how I was raised. I wasn't wanting to fight back or talk
Mhm.
back or to set proper boundaries. So,
Mhm.
I take accountability. I think being married to a narcissist was a lesson I needed to learn.
Mhm.
God wanted me to learn to set those proper boundaries, to love myself, and to
Yeah.
listen to my inner gut. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I buried her for a long time.
Yeah, that really
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Um, Real quick though, do you think that your parents or your father or mother, one of the two, was partial narcissists or had narcissistic tendencies per se? So that way, whenever he started showing them, they weren't like, "Oh, this is abnormal." It was something that's like, "Oh, this is something my parents did too, so that's normal."
Yeah. No, and looking back, I had, very loving parents, just very strict. They were old
Gotcha.
school. They were
Yeah.
my dad was military, old school.
Oh, that explains it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then yeah, never mind.
No. But
um.
that's funny you brought that up, because a lot of times they say narcissists, they had some kind of childhood trauma or
Mhm.
some kind of an issue with their parents.
Mhm.
And I didn't really see it with his parents. I
Huh.
mean, they got divorced when we were newly married and had some issues, but other than that, I didn't really see them as the
Mhm.
narcissistic type.
Uh.
So, which I find interesting.
Yeah. Did he ever tell you much about his childhood and how he was raised by them, or maybe
But
he
yeah, I
wasn't too?
mean, they were a small town Catholic family.
Mm.
His dad worked for the bank. The mom was a school teacher.
Huh.
They even did through the Catholic Church couples counseling. So,
Ah. Okay.
yeah. So
So we could probably just say statistical anomaly on that end.
yeah.
That something just kind of got a little miswired somewhere, and no fault on anyone really. What was one of the things that you first felt whenever you were able to start breaking away? And was it something that was like, oh, the cracks started to show and there's no fixing it? Or like he probably tried to fix it, right? But you were like, nah, we're breaking this up.
Well, towards the end, we were seeing marriage counselors and it wasn't working.
Mm,
We'd go to a counselor and it was always an opportunity for him to attack me and throw me under the bus.
yeah.
And I wasn't allowed to ever bring anything up. Otherwise, I was accused of throwing him under the bus.
Uh,
So yeah, I figured I had to go get a therapist of my own, because couples counseling does not work with a narcissist. And
I,
he was actually diagnosed as a narcissistic psychopath. So during our
whoa.
divorce process, he kept saying I was crazy and delusional. And I said, okay, I'll take psych eval if you take one. And it turned out very well for me. It's the only reason he settled. His came back bad, really
Oh
bad.
man.
Yeah.
Ah, jeez. Well, I mean, I guess I gotta say that's probably the first time he took accountability, right?
Well, he couldn't take accountability, but we were going to trial, and it was the day before it was our settlement, and
Mm,
I handed him the results, and I mean, you couldn't deny it at that point.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a
So,
failed deposition, and so
mm,
many other things.
do you still try to like keep tabs on him? Like, is he any better or anything? Do you like, is it like complete blacklist? Like he is like ixnayed out of your life forever? and the kids, or what?
Well, it's difficult because we have 3 children that bind us.
Yeah.
But my coaching and to people that I'm working with that are trying to break free is no contact.
Mm,
During the divorce process and post divorce, I actually had to get personal protection orders
whoa.
to protect myself because he was stalking me, videotaping me, tracing me, hacking my emails. Because
Jeez.
once you leave a narcissist, you're
Mm-hmm.
in the discard phase and
Ooh.
they will do anything they can in their power to destroy you. Because
Mm.
I was a piece of property he owned. And once I left, it was like, I'm going to destroy you. And he
Uh.
threatened me when we were, going through those rocky phases
Mm-hmm.
that if I ever left him, he would destroy me. But I had no idea the length and the extent that he would actually go through. This was
Wow.
someone I loved. I was with him for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
That he could just switch like that. I say it's like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
And
scary.
that is really scary. And it is, I mean, that is such a hard feeling to deal with too, because you're not only going through the one betrayal, it's like a betrayal of like a whole different kind on top of that, right? Because
Yeah.
that's some trust that you'd be like, yeah, you wouldn't do that, right? But I mean, if he said that he was going to do it, what is that saying? If people tell you how they are or who they are, believe them. So I guess I don't
Mhm.
know. That's a really unfortunate situation.
So when I finally got to that point, the hardest part was fear. Fear of
Yeah.
the unknown, fear of what I'm going to do, fear of what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but you can't stay in a toxic relationship and survive and
Mm-hmm.
move on without pushing through that wall of fear. You have to
Yeah.
face it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you coach people through that wall of fear?
Well, it's baby steps. So I
Okay.
always say, no contact if you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, he would move out of the house.
Mm.
So during the divorce process, which lasted over a year,
Ouch.
he would move out. So
Mm.
it was a year of living hell. Like the minute he would walk in the door, I would run up to my bedroom and lock the door. And,
That
I had 3 kids I was trying to raise. It was insane at the things he did to me and he tried to put me in jail a number of times. He
what?
faked all this stuff. I mean, I found him hacking my emails. I found him tracing my car. I found hidden cameras. And the funny thing is, I wasn't the one who was hiding or stealing or cheating. But that's
Jeez.
another sign of a narcissist. I call it the mirror effect because they accuse you of what they are actually doing.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
projection kind of thing,
Yeah.
where every accusation is actually a confession.
Hmm.
Oh.
That's true. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really sucks whenever you're dealing with someone like that, because it's another form of that gaslighting thing, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like, this is reality. Yeah, no. Who turned on Queen?
Yeah, but you got to push through, that comfort zone and, really face your fears because it's only way you're going to break free. But I can tell you that once you are free, it's like a whole glorious world on the other side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're essentially unshackled. You're unchained. You are one of the most free versions of yourself that you can be.
Yeah. And I like how you brought up the chains. I always talk about, forgiveness, but
Hmm.
I explain it. There's this one woman priest. I wish I could remember her name on Facebook, but she has this podcast that's called Forgive Assholes. Oops, can I say that?
Yeah.
Um, but she talks about this chain that binds you.
Hmm.
And as long as you're holding on to that resentment and
Hmm.
anger and hatred, they're still holding that chain and they're
Hmm.
still controlling you. So she said, imagine these giant bolt cutters and you're
Hmm.
cutting that chain. It's not for them, it's for yourself. So you
Yeah.
can break free and move away and move toward a happier future.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I always, so a lot of times I'm picturing those bolt cutters. I'm just like cutting.
Do you still have to picture yourself doing that? Because I mean, you were with him for 30 years, so that's a lot
Yeah,
of neural pathways to kind of cut and reshape.
it is. And unfortunately, he uses the children as weapons. So,
Mm.
even though he lives halfway across the world from me right now,
Mm.
he still controls the money, he still controls the kids,
Ugh.
and he'll take any opportunity to use them and upset me.
Mm. Is there a shield of sorts that you have found that kind of works on that end?
Well, for me, I always try to stick to being more godly, like just put my faith in God and always have love and kindness in my heart
Mm-hmm.
and just love on my children
Mm.
and try not to talk bad about their father. And, it's not fair to them. Um, and just try to move on
Mm-hmm.
as best you can.
Yeah.
But I mean, for years, we still were going to court after the divorce because he
Mm.
refused to pay for the kids' expenses and he lost his two jobs in the process. So,
Uh.
yeah, karma's a bitch. Um,
Yeah.
but, we were always having to renegotiate because I had some smaller children at the time,
Mm-hmm.
the whole parenting time and
Mm-hmm.
moving and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, now that the kids are grown, I still have one left in college, but it's not as much now that I have to interact with him,
Mm-hmm.
which is a good thing.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Real quick, did he have much of a negative impact on the children? Because I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier, where the narcissistic parent may cause problems with the children becoming a narcissist themselves.
Hmm.
So, has there been any signs in any of the children that you're like, I got to stump that fire out real quick?
Yeah, definitely. I think that was one
Mm.
of my turning points when I finally decided to leave because my children started talking to me the way he did,
Ooh.
and
Ugh.
we were never on the same page parenting. I was always the mean cop, the one who punished the kids and then, he'd come in and give them their computer or TV time back or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it was, I'm teaching my children what a dysfunctional relationship is. When I
Mm.
see them acting like him and talking like him and treating other people the way he treats other people, I
Mm-hmm.
said, "No, this isn't it." And I
Yeah.
actually stayed in the marriage as long as I did for my children because,
Mm.
I wanted to keep my vow to him, but to my
Mm-hmm.
family. But I
Yeah.
realized I was only hurting my children by staying.
Ah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. And that's another thing, trying to forgive myself for that. Why did I stay so long? But again,
Mhm.
I was living in a foreign country. I couldn't just leave.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that life kinda just throws on our plate, and it's like, "Hey, you're gonna eat it. It's gonna make you strong," and you're like, "Yeah, no."
Exactly. But, I do see it a lot. I see he was a detached parent,
Mm,
so he wasn't around a lot. His focus was career, and he
yeah.
did a great job providing for the family financially.
Yeah.
I got to give him kudos for that.
Yeah.
But, he never went to a teacher conference or a
Ugh.
dentist appointment. Or my one son had some major health issues, many, many surgeries. You
Mm.
never made it for surgery or, get changing a bandage or anything like that. So,
Oh, man.
yeah. So, I really hope that my kids someday will see, what a loving parent is based on how I raised them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I see too, my daughter, she has some daddy issues.
Mm.
She feels like she needs a man to complete her because she never got that attention from her father that she
Yeah.
so wanted and needed.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she sees it. I think she sees it now. She's 20, she just
Yeah.
turned 26. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things that if they're going to be reflective on their own upbringing and stuff like that, then they're going to eventually see the stark contrast between you and him and how everything was. And I mean, for a lot of us, we're kind of slow learners in some regard whenever it's like, oh, hey, my parents did actually pretty good with me. I can't be mad at them anymore. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's right. Like I was so judgmental on my parents and now I'm like, dang, they did a good job. But,
Yeah.
I never saw my parents fight. I never saw my parents. They were always on the same page.
Hmm.
And my kids saw the fighting. They saw the abuse. They saw it all,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
unfortunately.
and that's got to be one of those hard things where it's like, if my parents did this and they were so good at it, why can't I do that too? But
Hmm.
it's not all
Yeah.
on you. So I just want you and your past self to know that it's not on you.
I
But
know. It's a hard one.
yeah, it's very hard. But whenever you're helping coach people walk through that wall of fear and everything, how
Hmm.
many times do they have children and you are like, hey, I was in the same boat and everything like that? So
Yeah.
you kind of have an idea of what to do to help guide them through. Like, the kids are going to be fine too.
Yeah. But also, you don't want to drag the kids through it. It's not their battle. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, like I said, my ex used our kids as weapons.
Hmm.
So it's really important to try and protect the kids as much as you can.
Hmm. What are
Yeah.
some of the best ways to do that? Because, I mean, if there's legal stuff involved, like custody rights and all that, you can't really
Mhm.
just say, like, oh, they went to Antarctica with grandpa and grandma for the summer, right?
I know. Well, there's so much to it. For us, I had an app that I recorded. I think it was like Life 360 or 360,
Yeah. Yep. Life
something
360.
like that. But like, so all the correspondences, everything was in emails. The
Mm-hmm.
parenting schedule was all set, and it
Mm-hmm.
recorded everything. Unfortunately, he used it as an opportunity to try and make a stage and run me through the mud every time chance he got. But I did notice, but post divorce, there's so much that's involved with the
Mm-hmm.
children, and that's why I wrote this divorce checklist too.
Oh,
Um,
geez.
but it's really important, especially with the kids, because there's so much that doesn't fall under that umbrella of child support.
Mm-hmm.
That's that canopy of food, shelter, and clothing.
Yeah.
But what about cell phones? What about
Mm-hmm.
driver's education? What about prom? There's so many components. So I think the more that parents, when they're going through this process,
Mm-hmm.
they identify all those items
Mm-hmm.
prior to the divorce,
Yeah.
that it'll be more cohesive for the children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
Yeah, because
sure.
right now, like my son will come up to me, go, "Mom, I don't have any skis. Will you buy them for me?" And then he's going back and forth between us. Or
Mm-hmm.
my daughter, my husband would be like, "No, I'm not paying your college tuition that's due tomorrow," even
Yeah.
though we had agreed on that. So the kids were
Yeah.
constantly put in this struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So you got a second book as well, Divorce Checklist?
yeah, it's the ultimate survival guide.
Ultimate Survival Guide.
Yeah, but it's a really good checklist, because when I was going through my divorce, I'd never been divorced before. I
Mhm,
like, what do I need to do? What do I need to prepare myself?
mhm.
So I go through all the components for the children, anything I could think of. Also, all the financials, where they might hide money, things that you also have to look forward
Yeah.
to in the future, like life insurance and health care,
Mhm.
and all those other things that are post divorce that are important.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Real quick question, it's kind of a side tangent, I guess, but did he have any, like, substance use issues or alcohol issues?
Yeah, I mean, definitely we were partiers. We lived in Ireland and Puerto Rico, and eat cocktails and stuff. But
Uh-huh.
I did notice that, yeah, he started dabbling in substances. I,
Mhm.
I don't want him to sue me.
Eh.
um, but yeah, and definitely it was during those times
Mhm.
that his verbal and physical abuse escalated.
Ugh.
Definitely.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
really sucks.
It was like a
Um,
trigger. I called it the trifecta. When he
yeah.
would drink like Red Bull, do some kind of, like
Yeah.
three different things. Yeah, I called it the
Yeah.
trifecta. And it was ugly.
Yeah, the ultimate asshole would come out, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
Eh.
Or
Ugh.
was that Jekyll? I don't know. It's one.
So Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, right? Did
Yeah,
I hope
Hyde's
that's
the,
right.
yeah.
Whenever y'all started that whole divorce thing and y'all were sitting up there and you had your room, he had his room, but y'all were in the same house and the children were still there, was there like a lot of talk amongst the children of oh, this is happening, and like speculation of what was going to happen afterwards? How many times did you have to tell them or retell them what was going to happen?
It was really difficult because he would say, I'm taking your kids are coming to live with me, and I'm
Hmm.
taking the dog too, my dog, the one I raised that never
Yeah.
left my side.
Hmm.
It was always constant threats and things like that.
Hmm.
I mean, to give you an idea, a narcissist, it was his house, his money.
Hmm.
Even
Yeah.
though we agreed I was upstairs, he was downstairs, he still would break into my room and break the lock to get into my room. Like I wasn't allowed to have a private place of my own. And then
The
when I
hell?
would get a locksmith and put a special lock on it, he'd call a locksmith out and have him unlock it. We spent $3,000 just on locksmith fees.
What?
My daughter would call me and say, Dad's standing outside the bedroom listening. Was listening to me on the phone talking.
Hmm.
My kids saw all of this. It was terrible.
Oh man.
Yeah. And it got to the point where at one point we were going to court. I was suing him for exclusive use of home. I needed to get him out because it
Hmm.
was so bad. It was
Yeah.
just awful.
Hmm.
And I was, putting together videos and all this stuff in the office. And he kept coming in. And I'm like,
Hmm.
please leave me alone. And at one point, I had to get up to go to the restroom. And of course, he went in there and was taking pictures and videotaping. It's just
Hmm.
a crazy, crazy story. I mean, he was videotaping outside the windows inside, trying to see what I was doing. And this was
Wow.
like on a daily basis of things he did to me. But
Jeez.
so when I came in, I went up to the desk and I said, Hey, I told you not to come in here.
Hmm.
And I stood in front of the computer and he goes, Oh, you scratched me. And I go, I didn't touch you. And I had my phone, thank God, in my hand recording because I swear that saved me more times than I can count.
Wow.
And the next day, when we were going to court, the police were there first thing in the morning. He had filed assault and battery charges against me
What
because he
the?
didn't want me to make it to court. And of course, they went and saw him, and he didn't have a scratch on his arm. He had made it all up. But
Yeah.
that's just one instance of all this stuff. And my kids saw it all. It was
Oh,
awful.
man.
So it got to the point where I needed to get a personal protection order.
Mm.
And then I actually got it ex parte after another event.
Mm.
And so he had to move out immediately.
Ah.
Yeah. But even then, after he was forced out of the home, he would have the kids take stuff for him. Like you're not allowed to remove anything, steal anything, change anything when you have
Hmm.
a restraining order. And of course, he's got the kids stealing stuff and taking stuff. And
Jeez. Oh
so
man.
the kids were, they were caught in the middle. And
Hmm.
and honestly, there's nothing I could have done. It was
No.
out of my control. I did everything I could. Then I
Yeah.
tried to protect my children.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that that's all a parent can do is just try their absolute best because, like you said, it was out of your control. I mean, I think once they're birthed and once they're after a certain age, it's kind of out of your control, anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And my kids, I don't think they've even read my book, which is probably a good thing. But,
yeah,
they don't even know half of what their dad put me through. Only
yeah,
the few bits that they saw under
yeah,
those extreme moments.
yeah. And that was going to be one of my questions too. Like, they know you wrote the book, right? And if they
Mm.
do, did they read it? And I mean, because I guarantee if I read a book that my parents wrote, it would change my viewpoint on them entirely. Just like, oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Or like, man, that really sucks.
Yeah.
That would
Well, maybe
explain some things.
someday. Maybe someday. I mean, they were younger when I wrote it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And hopefully it'll give them a little idea. But it's basically it's just a year of my life. It was the year of our divorce. And it
Hmm.
was so ugly. I don't even know if they want to read it because it's not a happy story. Yeah, it's hard. And in my book, I talk a lot about how the children started acting up and things that happened.
Mm,
Yeah, so they're in there. They're in there.
yeah. And I mean, that's going to be kind of wild to read that kind of story from that viewpoint, having been in there and been like, oh, I didn't realize all this was happening right
Yeah,
behind that door, you know?
yeah, yeah,
So I had asked about the substance use stuff because you'd mentioned hiding money. And people that are in addiction or just have benders and stuff like that, they like to hide stuff. But that's just my experience, and I know I was really good
Mhm.
at hiding things. Uh,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, you know
So,
what? When we were dating,
uh-huh.
and then our first year of marriage, I almost left him because
Whoa.
I found out that we had bought him a car and we were
Hmm.
making car payments. And one day I was checking the accounts. The car payment book said 500, but it was only 100. So where was
Hmm.
the other $400?
Yeah.
And I had noticed that had been going on the whole year.
Huh.
And he lied to me and then finally admitted that he had lost all of the money we got from our wedding gambling
Oh.
and he owed a bookie. So that was in the first year we were married and he cheated on me. So
Ugh.
it's like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he was working in a bar at the time. We had both been working bars in college.
Mm. Yeah.
And he was the general manager then when we got married. So,
Uh,
you were still drinking around all those
mhm.
kids. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I said, this isn't what I signed up for. So either you need to make a change
Mhm.
or I'm out. And to his credit, he did. He went and got a new job. He got the
Mhm.
sales exec position.
Mhm.
And we moved away. And I thought this would be a good new start, new beginning for us.
Yeah.
And it was for him because, his career just shot right up. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Man, and that's got to be one of those weirdest things too, just like having the feeling that, oh yeah, this is the start of like everything that's good is going to come about, and you still got to wait 30 years. That really
Yeah.
sucks. Uh,
But like I said, yeah, I saw him cheating, gambling. He broke the windshield on his car, punching it, like
ugh.
those little fits of anger and outburst.
Mhm.
It doesn't get better over time, it gets worse.
Yeah. Ew.
So when you see those red flags in the early beginning stages like that, it's like run,
Mhm.
Forrest, run.
Yeah.
But I was in love and yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to tell yourself whatever you can to stick there and get all that dopamine that you can. Real quick, for everyone out there listening, what are the websites that they can find you at to get your help with coaching or your book?
So my book is called Year of Thorns.
Okay.
Plug right there. So it's www.yearofthorns.com. I have a blog and I
Okay.
have my link to my book and my divorce checklist. And there you go. Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of
So they
course.
can reach me through that site.
Awesome. And I mean, is there hopefully, so you got two books. You got Year
Hmm.
of Thorns, Divorce Checklist. Do you have another one coming around the corner?
It's funny. I left this Year of Thorns as a cliffhanger because we get divorced, right?
Uh-huh.
And 2 days after I signed the divorce decree, he gets fired. And I don't
Whoa.
tell you why he got fired or what happened. And I could write a whole post book at this
Uh-huh.
point. And
Yeah.
I would probably use Chat GPT now because I wrote that one myself. Because Chat GPT is a much better writer than I am. But
Eh.
yeah, so I could talk about, what happened, the
Mhm.
struggles we still faced after the divorce, but then
Mhm.
also about healing and moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, on that note, we've got a little bit of time left. Do you want to dive into some healing and what you've done post divorce and everything so that way we can
Sure.
kind of have a better segue into next episode next time?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I, after my divorce, I was devastated and I was just like, how did I get to this place in my life? And a
Mhm.
girlfriend gave me this book. She was going through divorce and she said she was verbally abused. And I
Mm.
said, what's that? And she gave me this book by Patricia Evans. It's called The Verbally Abusive Relationship. I
Mm.
read it. I like, wow, this is me. And
Uh-huh.
then in that, they mention a narcissist. So then I started reading every book there was on narcissist and
Uh,
realized that my story wasn't unique, it was universal.
oof.
So, yeah, it was kind of like, and I even have a degree in psychology, but like I said, narcissism wasn't mainstream then.
Uh,
So for that, that's why I ended up writing my book. I took my journal
mhm.
and it was therapeutic for me to go through that year read everything and then say, oh, that's gaslighting or that's, projection, that I know I'm not crazy. I validated my feelings and my truth. So that was really important. And then it's forgiveness for not leaving sooner. And, and the kids going through what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, I think a lot of it again is like, I say my favorite quote is, what you're not changing, you're choosing. And I was miserable and I needed to make a change and I did. It wasn't easy, but nothing that ever is worth it is easy. Does that make sense? You got to work for those things that really matter in your life. I mean, you just got to trust your instincts, trust your gut, because everybody deserves to be happy and treated with kindness and respect and compassion. Yeah.
That is for sure. I 100% agree on that. And I love that you've been able to sit there and really unwind that year and figure stuff out and everything. And one of the things that I heard you say about that, though, is that you kept a journal during that whole time, right?
Yeah, I did. And that's what my book is. So it's literally like, what is a narcissist? What is a psychopath? And then my light bulb moment when I have my panic attack and I walk out. And then it's my journal every day. And it saved me. And I really, really tell people to write a journal. Because I went back when I found out he was hacking my emails. And I said, oh, I asked my attorney to file this motion on January 6th. And then I find out on January 7th, he files a motion against me because he had seen what I was going to do.
Wow.
Yeah. So going back through it all, it just makes so much sense. But also seeing the narcissistic psychopath component of like how calculating, like everything he did was so calculated. Yeah.
What was one of the most calculated things he did? Because I mean, from the sounds of it, he sounds like he is someone that is willing to go out of his way to do something.
Oh yeah. Well, I told you about the scratch trying to get me arrested before court. And another time, my son was sick and he's like, will you go get medicine out of the bathroom? And he blocked me in the bathroom and wouldn't let me out.
What?
And if I pushed past him, he would have said, you
hurt him.
Yeah. And he's standing there and all of a sudden he literally starts hitting himself on the forehead going, oh my God, you're headbutting me. Mommy's headbutting me. He's 6 foot tall. I'm 5'2". I can't jump up and headbutt the man. Right? Can you see? And I'm just standing there and thank God I had it recorded in my pocket. And it saved me. He tried to have me put in jail again. I mean, it's just time and time and time again like that. Yeah. And then during the divorce, I swear, Keegan, I had a guardian angel because not those 2 times I saved myself through my journal and my recordings, but also I went into, I got a call from our bank. And they said, oh, there was a problem with your husband's wire transfer. Like, what? We're not supposed to be moving money or doing anything. He literally walked into a bank with $70,000 in cash in a duffel bag trying to wire it. And they had gotten some number transposed and I was still on the account.
Wow.
I would never have known.
Yeah.
And that's just one time he got caught. I can't even imagine what else.
Yeah.
I heard him say, even if I go to jail, he forged my signature and did all this other stuff too during the divorce and like cashed out all our stocks and stuff. But he said, I heard him say, if I ever go to jail, I'm set for life. And I'm like,
how does that work?
Yeah.
What? Like, do you have that many connections in jail? That sucks.
No, but I think financially because he handled the money. And I just went along with it. I paid the bills and I was the dutiful wife, So I think he had some hidden in the sides.
Yeah. Man, he does not sound like a fun guy to be around sometimes, but I mean, we're hearing the bad parts, right? And so
but like I said, there's the good times. We lived all over the world. I traveled. I have 3 beautiful kids. So there's a lot of that. That was nice and good.
Oh, quick question. Did you gaslight yourself a whole bunch?
Gaslight myself? No, but I questioned my reality.
Mm-hmm.
He would say, No, that's not how it happened. And, I felt like I was on this crazy wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, when I jumped off, I'm like, no, I was right. I need to trust my gut,
Yeah.
trust my instincts and intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
do you know if he is still like checking up on you of a sorts?
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, so I guess one of the best like get backs at him you could do is just make your life that much more awesome, right?
Yeah. I mean, you just got to move on and be happy. But yeah, I'll get a comment after your podcast. He'll send a note. I don't know how he sees it. I changed my name. I changed my name on my book
Huh.
because it's not meant to drag him through the mud. It's to help
Yeah.
others
Yeah.
know what to expect if you're in a toxic relationship and
Mm-hmm.
what might happen and then how to protect yourself. And
Yeah.
then I talk about all the different manipulative tactics.
Mm.
So maybe, giving people those pointers going, oh, that's gaslighting or
Mm-hmm.
projection. But
Yeah. Then
yeah.
maybe next episode we can mix some healing and some tips of how to notice all that stuff at once.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and if he thinks that this is like some kind of like drag him through the mud kind of thing, I can direct him to a couple of episodes that people have blatantly called out their partner's or ex-partner's name and have continued talking like they were right next to them. And I'm like, okay, well, here we go. And I don't even know the dude's name. So if he wants to get mad, that's all on him.
Yeah. But, I really try to focus now on moving forward, not looking
Hmm.
back.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I was doing a lot of these podcasts talking about all these things that happened during my divorce, but it doesn't bring me joy. It just hurts when I talk about that.
Yeah.
It just brings it all back up. So
Hmm.
I always try to focus on, instead of talking about my year of suffering,
Hmm.
talking about my years of thriving. Because you got
Ooh.
to move forward, got to go forward one step at
Hmm.
a time.
Yeah. So that'll
Yeah.
be the title of your next book, right? Years of Thriving.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you.
Well, you're the one that said it. I just
Yeah.
threw it back at you. I'm the mirror right here. But
Yeah.
with that being said, we are getting close to the end of this episode, but I've got one last question for you if you don't mind.
Okay. No.
All right.
Shoot.
All right, Kimber. So the name of this podcast is Retrieving Sanity, and we explore how all facets of living life impact mental health. Looking at the incredible motley adventures of your life, what does retrieving sanity personally mean to you today, and what's one practice or perspective you believe is crucial for anyone on that journey?
Well, my two main things are, again, forgiveness
Hmm.
and looking forward. Yeah.
Mm.
You got to let go, just let it go and move forward.
Yeah, uh, I agree with you so much, and I think that those are some of the things that we just don't know how to do. So I just got to say thank you for highlighting that for everyone out there, so that maybe that will start someone's seed to sprout in their head.
Yeah. I mean, I even look at it with gratitude in my life. I
Hmm.
needed to learn boundaries. I needed to learn those lessons that now make me stronger, more resilient, and wiser.
Yeah,
So, so that in these next years and next relationships, it's better. Yeah.
yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. And do you have anything special for listeners?
If they reach out, I can send them a free copy of this digitally, the
Ooh,
divorce checklist.
okay. Huh,
Yeah. I think
sweet.
it's like a $9.99 value on Amazon.com, but I'm
That's
happy to
awesome.
share it because it's really important, especially if kids are involved. You really
Yeah.
want to make sure you check all those bases,
Yeah.
all those boxes.
Yeah, that is for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
if we got children involved, we got to do everything that we can, but we got to also just do everything that we can for ourselves. But man, that can be hard. So,
Yeah.
again, just thank you for doing it for yourself because we got to have an awesome conversation out of it. I'm sorry that we were kind of in the mud a little bit ourselves,
I
but
know.
I think we were uh, having fun in it. I mean, pigs
Yeah.
do.
I mean, I'm
So,
actually laughing about it when I talk about it now.
yeah.
If you had asked me years ago, I would cry through the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that that is definitely a sign of healing. Patch Adams taught us that laughter is medicine. So maybe laughter is kind of like the sign that you are maybe more healed than you realized.
Just one day at a time, one step at a time.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what recovery is. And I think that that's what a good life is, you know. And sometimes we just like having one foot in the past, one foot in the future, and just not doing too good on today. But thank you very much for being on Retrieving Sanity. And we will see you in the future. It's been an interesting conversation. It's been an interesting year. It's already the end of 2025. So maybe 2026 is going to have even more awesome stuff and a special chapter in Years of Thriving, right?
Right. We're going to manifest it. Yes.
There you go. Everyone out there, thank you for listening to Retrieving Sanity on WDJY 99.1 FM. And as always, you've got to love yourself. Try to love others if you can, but you got to love yourself first. And if you are having a mental health crisis, you can give the number 988 a call. And if you are in the LGBTQ plus community, you can give the Trevor Project up in Canada a call. So with that being said, everyone out there, thank you again. We will see you all next week. Much love.
Bye.
Shalom.